Ready? I'd like to call the, I'd like to call the public hearing to order on, to receive comments on ordinance 2312. Comments on 2312. 2312. Is there anybody here to give us feedback on ordinance 2312? That's the movement of the coronavirus funds. Nobody? I call that public hearing to a close. I'd like to also now call public hearing on ordinance 2313 to receive direct funding of the fiscal recovery funds of the town, move the fiscal funds of the town's recovery fund to the town's general funds. Does anybody make comments on that? Anybody make comments on that public hearing? Seeing none, I call that public hearing to a close. Nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you. We received the minutes from the June 27th, 2023 meeting by electronic means. Is there a motion for acceptance of those minutes from electronic?
So.
And is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Is there any comments? Any changes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Report of standing, administrative briefing. The administrator sent us his briefing electronically. Are there any changes for the administrator about the briefing? Seeing none, Mr. Courtney, do you have any changes for the council?
No, sir.
No? Okay, great. New in-town businesses. Mr. Sickinger, do we have any new in-town businesses?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor. We've got Balmer and Associates. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Jania Healthcare Solutions, Healing Hands, Lawyer Lisa, Saj, and that's it.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sickinger. Amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none. Consideration of communications. Will you all meet me down front, please? I'd like to call the members of the Jackie's Tailoring. Would y'all come up, please? Anna? Hold on. And because Jackie's Alterations handle all of my tailoring needs, she can make the fat guy like me look skinny by the magic of her needle. But this is her 40th anniversary in the town of Irmo, and that's a milestone in itself. That's right, y'all need to give her a clap. When they told me that, they've been paying business license for 40 years, I said, absolutely, you are the business of the month for 2023. So here, a little something from the town of Irmo in appreciation for your dedication, your service to the community. It is presented to Jackie's Tailor and Alteration in recognition of being the small business of the month for the town of Irmo for July 2023. There you go. It's on. Here. Would you like to say something, Anna? Somebody tell us a little
I
bit
think
about
I got elected, as the talker, because I can talk
Yeah.
about anything.
Tell us a little bit about your business.
Absolutely. Miss Jackie, as you said, has been in business since 1983. Many of the folks up here were either barely moving around or not even born yet. And to know that you've got someone who immigrated from Vietnam, a small business owner, a woman business owner, not to mention a minority, is something that I think we should all celebrate. And so we've been trying to make sure that people know that this is her 40th year in business. And Miss Jackie has made sure that all of us are trained well. We each have a different specialty. So depending on what type of clothing or what challenge you bring us, a different person might be the one to help you out. But we all really enjoy working with everybody in Irmo, and we appreciate this. We're definitely going to go put it up on the wall. Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, y'all got good pictures? Huh? All right, thank you all very much. Congratulations. All right. Very glad.
5 to 7 p.m. at Irmo High School. On August 1st, we also will have the National Night Out. This will be from 5:30 to 8 p.m. in the Community Park of Irmo. There'll be food, music, games, prizes. This is a free event open to the public. And we also, as you probably know, the Irmo Ochre Strut is going to be coming up the last weekend of September. I just wanted to bring it to your attention that the bands have been announced for the Friday night and Saturday night entertainment. On Friday night, LA Maybe will be opening for the Terrence Young Project, and on Saturday, the Reggie Sullivan Group will be opening for the Spin Doctors. And I have one other event that I wanted to mention that we don't have a slide for, but Mary's Mobile Market will be this Saturday, the 22nd, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Community Park of Irmo. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Wallman. Appreciate it. As you can see, we continue to have excellent activities in the town of Irmo, which always helps our community expand and grow. I have any other receipt of communications? I have one. Director Witt, would you come to the podium, please? At the last council meeting, we were talking about the electricity being run to the large dog park, small dog park, and the community garden. And I understand that you said that that was already a contract that's been awarded. Can you give me a status on that? When are we going to get that done, or is it been done?
They're ordering the material, they've had the materials ordered. When the materials come in, they're gonna get started. Hopefully they'll be out there next week.
So next week, meaning July 25th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Also, the grass in front of the community garden in the dog park, not the grass inside the park, but outside as you walk to the park. That hasn't been cut in a while.
There's a lot of grass in town that hasn't been cut for a while.
Yeah.
We're in a very deep hole. We're trying to dig ourselves out of it. It's gonna take,
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
we're in a very deep hole because of issues that my department's had. And we're gonna catch up with it in a few weeks.
A few weeks.
It'll take a few weeks.
There's no, okay, can I get Irmo Outreach to come cut the grass? If I ask them?
That's fine with me.
Okay, I'll talk to them and see if they can cut it, because that looks terrible. I mean,
It looks bad everywhere the grass is tall.
well, I'm concerned about the garden, because that's an
Gotcha.
active,
It looks bad everywhere. There's tall
okay,
grass
I
everywhere.
got you. Well, if you can switch something around, if you can't do that, I'm gonna ask the Irmo Outreach to cut
Okay.
it because right in front of the garden, people are actually harvesting groceries out of there now. And if you approach that, it's just not cool. I don't want Kaylee to write us a ticket for $1,087 for high grass in the, on the way to the town community park, to the dog park and community garden. In the community park, on the right-hand side, as you walk into the community park, that land has been sitting untouched and again, looks terrible. I think we were trying to get dirt brought in to fill in there.
Correct. I'm trying to get different contractors as they have extra dirt to bring it in there.
Okay, but besides that, is it possible to at least cut that grass, weed it, or grade it so we can at least park on it before they use it before
Gonna
they
take,
open
that, I seriously doubt that'll be ready for the Strut.
Okay, all you have to do is cut the grass. If somebody wants to park there and take a chance.
You can't even walk across there. It's been cleared of the trees. There's holes that are a couple feet deep. No
That's
way,
what I'm
you
talking about, grading it. You can actually
gotta
have,
have dirt to do that.
but you got tractors, you can at least grade it, can't you?
No, I've gotta have dirt to fill in all those holes.
Okay, can you make that a priority in the next month to have the dirt brought in?
Talking with different contractors, and we're trying to get the dirt delivered for free, and I'm not gonna make a promise on when I can get somebody to do something for free.
I understand, but that should be a priority, I think, for the orchestra. Also, I sent you a picture of the bridge
Yep.
over in the community park where I guess a couple of those 1x4 boards were rotted away.
Correct.
People were afraid of tripping on that. Have we replaced those boards yet?
We've repaired the bridge.
The bridge is
Temporary,
repaired?
it's a temporary repair, but it's safe to walk on.
Right. So, okay, so people can.
That's done.
That's done? Great. I appreciate that attention because we certainly don't want any of our citizens falling over that.
As soon as we found out about it, we addressed it.
Fantastic. All right. That's all the receipt of communications I've had. Thank you,
Yep.
Director Witt. Is there any others? Seeing none, we're going to move on to presentation by citizens on items on our agenda. This is your participation of letting us know what you'd like us to know before we actually debate and vote on items tonight. First up is Mr. Harvey Hoots. If you come up to the podium, you signed up in advance, I'll call anybody else who wants to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, my name is Harvey Hoots. I live at 130 Bolters Lock Road in the old section of Friars Gate. I rise again tonight to speak to item F, I believe it is, the way you have it listed on your agenda, about the electronic meetings. Again, I want to express my concern that having been on council for over 25 years, we worked very hard to get the ordinance changed to allow citizens to speak before a vote is taken. And doing this thing electronically seems to take that item away from me, as well as the rest of the citizenry. If council meetings are allowed to be electronic, there's no problem with having discussions, workshops, but you don't vote electronically without being in front of the people. And if you don't think there's a problem with that, everybody has their opinion. If you don't think there's a problem with it, I have a simple solution. Any votes taken when there's an electronic meeting will be ratified at the next regular town meeting with a full slate of officers.
Citizens that would like to address council on our agenda items that did not have an opportunity to sign the pad. Come on up. Give us your name and address, please.
Hey, I'm Wade Deloach, 156. got jobs and everything that you got to attend to, and I can see reasons why you'd want to be away. But I can just see where this is a possibility where it would be taken advantage of in the same point. What if we came up here to a meeting where all 5 of you had to do this electronically? Wasn't nobody here but us. I mean, it could happen. You already got it where your first meeting of the month, you have a roundtable meeting out here. We can't hardly hear you. It's not recorded. You're not speaking into a mic. And I feel like the public, the heck with you, I don't care if you hear us or not. And the thing about it is there's no accountability. Because too many times you guys, I've been up here, you've had your second meeting, you say, well, so-and-so said this in the first meeting, we've already talked about it. No record of what was said. The public doesn't know who said what, if it's true or not. I mean, both sides of it. You know, it protects you, protects the public from, say, making accusations. But I feel like that I can just see where this would be taken advantage. If a situation came up where there's something controversial and you didn't want to be there, would you not be there and just use your jobs as an excuse? Accountability. I just worry about, will you take advantage of it and use it is a situation where, okay, there's something controversial coming up. I'm not going to be there. I'm going to do a Zoom. And then who knows? You didn't come up with an excuse. Okay, my Zoom's not working. I'm sorry. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else would like to address council, please come up to the podium.
Hi, I'm Benji Friday. I live at 20 Cape Flattery Court in the Beacon Hill subdivision. I too would like to see the meetings remain the way they are. I have gotten so much out of the last year that I've been coming to these meetings, and I would like to see them remain the way they are. One other thing I would like to add is there were shell casings found at Harbison Elementary School yesterday.
Excuse me, we're talking about agenda items.
Sorry, my fault. I would just like to see the meetings stay the way they are. That's all.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who'd like to address council, please, on any of our agenda items? Any items on our agenda tonight? You can save that for the end of the meeting. Okay, we'll come back and talk about it. All right, seeing none, we're going to move on. Unfinished business. Second reading of ordinance 2312. Is there a motion for a second reading? That's to allocate $1,496,243 in special projects from the ARPA funds that we received. Is there a motion?
So move.
I'll second that.
Been moved and properly second. Is there discussion? Sickinger? I'm sorry. Mr. Bush?
Nothing to add. I yield my time.
Dr. Wallman?
Comments to add?
Mr. Danielson?
Nothing to add.
Okay. And will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Item B, second and final reading of ordinance 2313. That's to take the funds that were left over from the first tranche, the $2.5 million plus dollars we got from the ARPA money, and allocate all of the residuals from that to the town's general fund. Is there a motion for second and final reading?
So move.
I'll second.
Sickinger, Mr. Bush. Mr. Sickinger?
Yeah, this was discussed in the last legislative meeting, and the points still hold, still in favor.
Okay, Mr. Bush.
I yield my time.
Okay, Dr. Wallman.
No other comments?
Mr. Danielson.
Yes, just to clarify, this is to put the remaining funds into the general fund, and that ends the reporting as far as the ARPA funds are concerned. Is that correct, Courtney?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and also is to defund the downtown district project, the remaining $700,000 that was allocated towards, $717,000 was allocated for the downtown project has now been defunded, and that money has been moved back into the general fund. So that being said, will the clerk, is there any more comments? Will the clerk read a roll?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Second and final reading of ordinance 2314, that's to remove the fees from the code and establish a master fee schedule, which we had online. Do you have that on the screen? Do you not have that? Right. Okay. Got the ordinance? Is that on the slide?
Yeah, we do have an ordinance if you want to see it.
Yeah, put it up on the, can you put, Anna? Okay.
2314.
2314. Perfect, thank you. That's, oh, you had it. Yeah, the other page. Scroll down. Yeah, just scroll down. Scroll up. Perfect, thank you. That's the ordinance we're talking about, that we're doing that. Okay, is there a motion for a second and final?
So moved.
Mr. Sickinger, is this second?
I'll second.
Was that, Mr. Bush? Okay. Mr. Sickinger.
Yeah, I'm in favor, as discussed in the last meeting. This effectively pulls out all the different fees and just puts it on a single master sheet. Simplifies things for us and for residents and for staff, so I'm in favor.
Mr. Bush.
Same, I yield my time.
Dr. Wall.
Yes, this just puts all the information together in one place, making it more accessible.
Okay, Mr. Danielson.
Yeah, I think this will clear up and folks can find these fees a lot quicker than they had in the past. So,
Okay. And also, we'll have one strategic place to look. If anybody wants to rent the amphitheater or rent a picnic shelter, they can look on that online at what the fee is for that, or they can call town hall and we can give them the fee. If we want to change that fee at any time, council decides they want to increase or decrease the fee, we have one place to do it, not all through the entire town hall website or whatever. We have one place we can make that change. Makes it a lot easier. Any more comments? Will the clerk read the roll?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. The second and final reading of ordinance 2315, and that's to adjust our zoning and land development section 2.2. Is there a motion for a second and final reading?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Sickinger.
Yeah, as discussed in the last legislative meeting, this moves car wash facilities to having a special exception through ZBA. And I think the pressure is on us to make sure that we look out for the best interests of the town without putting a heavy hand. And I think this strikes a good balance and just adds in one extra gate to having car washes appear every 10 feet.
Okay. Mr. Bush.
I agree with their characterization. I think this does just provide a little more oversight. I yield my time.
Dr. Wallman.
I agree with my fellow council members.
Okay, Mr. Danielson.
Nothing need be said.
Okay. All right. I understand the direction we're going with this and the need for it. But again, I don't want to dissuade any business from coming into town if it's an allowable business. To move all of the car washes into the special exception zone through the ZBA, and I believe, can you pull that? Is that pulled up, Anna? I believe you wanted to move it into light manufacturing? Yeah. To discourage any of the businesses for the car washes in order to be in the town of Irmo is not what we need to be doing. Certainly, we need to regulate that, and I get it. There's lots of car washes. We have a overabundance of car washes, and we probably have, yeah, there we go. Yeah, we're just changing it from permitted in commercial and light manufacturing to special exception, which means it has to go to the ZBA to get approval. That's fine if they want to go through that route. But at the same time, I want to encourage businesses to come into the town and not put them through a lot of additional hoops, which is fine. I can live with this ordinance. Any other comments? Clerk, please.
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Item E, second and final reading of ordinance 20, no, I'm sorry. Yeah. Second and final reading of ordinance 2316. This is going to be to, again, amend our zoning and land development, section 2.2, to limit storage units into light manufacturing. Anna, would you pull that up also while is there a motion for second and final reading?
So move.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Sickinger. Mr. Sickinger.
Yeah, similar to the previous ordinance that just passed, similar kind of design here, except it's also moving it to light manufacturing. And, you know, I can certainly see a world where in the future we have a more, I don't know, a more diverse set of zones that allows for maybe something other than just light manufacturing. But same line of thinking here. There are, I understand it's a very profitable business, and I certainly do want to welcome businesses to town. And this is just saying light manufacturing is the zone that they can go in, not unlike any of the other parts of our zoning where we say, you know, if you want to manufacture something, or if you want to have a transfer station or a gas station, there's particular restrictions, and this just falls in line with that.
Mr. Bush.
I agree with my colleagues' comments. I think we're just trying to clean up some of the old ordinances that we have, and this takes us in a step in the right direction. Yield my time.
Dr. Wallman.
This ordinance, just like the last ordinance, is not prohibiting these types of businesses, but just making sure that we are aware and have some level of control as to how many and where they're placed, and doing that in the best interest of the town.
Okay, Mr. Danielson.
Yeah, this is not to minimize the opportunity for businesses to come into town. This is for them to be located in the appropriate place, which we're working on in a bigger portion of this meeting later. And we're going to do some heavy block and tackling on that with our comprehensive plans. But the reality here is that we're trying to get this so that the folks in town know what's required, and we keep an eye on these types of projects. And very briefly, everybody wants to know why mini warehouses are the big item, right? Why they're popping up everywhere. Spoke with a client just the other day, just yesterday actually, who shared with me that they're their simple 10 by 12, I think was the size, was going up from $195 to $295. That was just a one-year jump after it had gone up $50 the month, the year prior. And she asked them, what's the deal? She said, because there's a shortage. There are not enough. So the market is driving that as much as we really may not be thrilled with how they look. This gives us a little ability to buffer those things and put them in the right spot. So that's a little bit of why that market is exploding.
Okay, and I also like to add that we are limiting storage units to this one district. Presently, they can be located in commercial general areas, and I believe neighborhood commercial, which now we're taking them away from those two zoned areas and restricting them to light manufacturing if they go to the ZBA and get a special exception. You know, here's an example of us turning away businesses that we would possibly have. As Mr. Danielson just pointed out, their revenue has gone up from $200 a month to $300 a month, which in turn means that they'll be paying more in business license in the following year. The problem is we don't want those mini warehouses on the main drag, but they can be buffered, or actually they can be situated so they can be behind commercial buildings. For instance, behind the Kroger, where they're not on the main drag, is certainly an acceptable location in a commercial general area that you can't see it right off the main drag, but it's behind the main structure or the main property, and it's something that will generate revenue for us. But by passing this amendment or this ordinance, we are saying you won't even be allowed to be behind that main structure in the front. You have to put it behind. You have to put it in light manufacturing zoned areas. Unfortunately, we don't have that many light manufactured zone areas in the town of Irmo. That being said, is there any more comments? Clerk, read a roll, please.
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
No. Okay. Second and final reading of ordinance 2317. This is where we're going to attempt to allow council members to participate electronically. Is there a motion for second and final reading?
I move that we approve a second and final reading of ordinance 2317
Okay.
with the amendments that I have proposed.
Wait a minute. We have to get a motion and a second.
I'll second.
You made the motion.
Okay.
You want to second it? All right. Dr. Wallman made the motion. Mr. seconded. Dr. Wallman, you have the floor.
I would actually like to amend this motion to include the proposed amendments that I've circulated to council and that are available. If, Anna, if you could show those on the screen. These amendments will address the issues that came up at our last council meeting. They will detail what is needed in terms of notification and approval by the town administrator. They give the details of how the council member attending the meeting will need to log in ahead of time so that all the electronics are tested and functioning properly. This,
Hold on a second. Are you want to do this as a whole, or you want to do each one individually? Because you got a lot of information that we just got.
I'd like to do it as a whole if we can, if we need to pull something out or readjust something, if I may continue.
Okay.
This defines that the council member attending electronically needs to be visible and remain visible to the council and to the public during the meeting. and that they must be present for the entire discussion in order to vote on an action item. It also requires that if the connection
Okay,
is,
excuse me, Dr. Wallman, I hate to interrupt you, and please forgive me. Would you read your amendments entirety, exactly how you want it to be read? Because it's so much
Okay.
information here
Okay,
that
I
you
can-
got crossed out.
I can
Start at the
read-
top
I'll read
and
the
read the whole
items.
thing.
Yeah, we received this as a full packet without the colors.
I did not receive it until 3 seconds ago at the council meeting. I got an email from Dr. Wallman at 1:30 in the morning. So your point of order is heard. Would you read the ordinance that you're actually?
I'll read the proposed amendments to ordinance 2317.
In
sec-
entirety.
In section 2-62, executive sessions, there will be item C added that says council members cannot participate in executive session by electronic means. In section 2-66, voting requirements, I'm proposing the addition of item 3, which is the council member needing to attend by electronic means must notify and be approved by the town administrator or his or her designee. Item number 4, I'm proposing to
Wait a
add.
minute, Dr. Wallman, start at B. You have item B, council members considered present.
That is
You're
what
adding-
was approved for the first reading.
Okay, that's what you're, are you?
I'm not amending that. The only thing that I'm amending are the items that are showing up in bold, and on the screen, they're showing up in green. Is that correct? Yes.
Okay,
So item number 4, under section 266, there's the addition of this statement. If attending by electronic means, the remote council member must log on to the meeting at least 15 minutes prior to the start of the meeting to ensure proper internet connection and that his, her camera and microphone are working properly. If circumstances and time allow, the remote attendee shall contact town staff to ascertain the system requirements and to test the functionality of the electronic connection. Item number 5, council members attending by electronic means must remain visible with a live camera feed to the meeting and a live image and without a wallpaper or distracting background. Item 6, council members attending by electronic means must be present for the entire discussion of an action item in order to vote on that item. Item number 7, if the electronic connection is lost during the meeting, at the discretion of the presiding officer, a 1-minute break may be taken to resolve the issue if possible. The section D, there's just some wording addition there. I'll read the whole thing. Electronic participation at council meetings and workshops shall be limited to twice per calendar year for emergent situations or personal reasons, such as family emergency, death in the family, unanticipated work travel obligations, unexpected travel delays, etc., that prevent the physical attendance at meetings and shall not be used as the primary method of meeting attendance.
okay. Motion, and has it been seconded?
I second that.
Okay, Mr. Bush, you second. Is there any discussions on that motion? Any discussions? Well, I have one. I received the email at 1:21 a.m. this morning. That information that you have on there, I don't know why it wasn't sent during the regular package that was sent to us and delivered to us on, I think it was Friday you sent it out, Courtney? It was not part of that package for our council meeting. I had an opportunity to look at the changes that we made at the last meeting in that package, but then, as like I said, at 1:21 a.m. this morning, I got an email with those changes on it. Barbara, you attended the District 5 school meeting last night live, is that right?
Yes.
And that meeting got off about 11:45 a.m. in the morning, 11:45 p.m. in the evening. And we were there from 6 o'clock until almost 12 midnight at the District 5 meeting. You were there until that time. The virtual meetings are a disservice to this entire community. The change to our meeting procedures will nullify the citizens' ability to address their option, their opinion, and vote on the votes we're about to make. We were elected to attend 12 meetings a year in person. The citizens expect us to engage with the public live, hear, and see the interactions of the public. Presently, if you're unable to attend one of these 12 meetings, you can simply call in. Call Courtney, call me, and say, I can't be at the meeting that day. We, as a council, if there's a pressing item to be voted on, we as a council respect each other enough that we will just postpone any action, any vote on those actions until the next meeting. In your proposed ordinance that you have just labeled out here, you said a reason for not attending a council meeting is because of family emergency, medical emergency, death in the family, work obligations, unexpected work travels. Let's take that one at a time. Family emergency. You know, somebody in your family got hit by a truck, you're on your way to council, you have to go see them. So you're gonna get to the emergency, the family emergency, open your iPad up on your left side, and then attend to your person on the right side. That's highly unlikely. Medical emergency, let's say you had a heart attack on your way to the council meeting. You're gonna open your iPad up in the ICU on the right side, and then you're gonna let the doctors work on you at the emergency room. Let's say you had death in the family. Let's say you're at the funeral. I can see you opening up your iPad at the funeral while they have this funeral services going on, because that's what we need to do. Work obligations. I can see you opening up your iPad on the left side and have your work computer on your right side while we're running our council meeting over here, and hopefully you're paying attention to that. You're also typing on your personal computer, doing your work obligations. Unexpected work travels. Now that I can get with, because if you're in LAX, and you know how the planes have been canceled every other day, they had delays, you certainly would be sitting in the lobby or in the waiting area of the plane, open up your iPad because you're gonna be late for a meeting, and participate in the waiting room of the airport before you get on the plane. And then this is most importantly, you have in there, et cetera. That is totally unacceptable. That means you can come up with any other excuse that you can come up with to open up your iPad and not be present in front of the citizens of Irmo. And then in here, you say that the presiding officer is present in the chambers. I think you need to change that to say the presiding officer must be present in the chambers. And then you say the members needing to attend by virtual means must notify and be approved by the town administrator. The last time I checked, Courtney works for this council. The council doesn't work for Courtney. I think that needs to be changed to the mayor or the presiding officer. In fact, I insist on that we do it that way. We haven't talked about the upgrades to the virtual system technology. Presently, we have issues trying to get this meetings live streamed so that people can hear us at home. And that technology has been around for what, 4 years now? We've been using this this live streaming technology. We still have problems with that. So I'm gonna delay the meeting while we get that person, make sure he can be online, and hope that the line doesn't drop in the middle of our meeting. So now that person that was present, that was here, is now out of order because his line dropped. And the cost to upgrade this is probably in the neighborhood of $50,000 or more to accommodate this change. I made a commitment unequivocally to serve the citizens of the town of Irmo. That means not to hide behind virtual meetings on iPad, Facebook, or YouTube, or any other unreliable technology to vote on important town matters. And I hope that all of you would follow me on that, to make that commitment to the citizens of this town, to be present in front of them so they can come and dialogue with us and to vote, to hear their conversations and to make decisions on pressing town matters live. That said, is there any comments, Mr. Danielson? Mr. Bush, Mr. Sickinger?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment.
Wait a minute.
You said Mr. Bush.
I said Danielson first. Okay. Well, he said he didn't have any comment. Well,
Have we decided
you
to
got
speak
nothing?
yet?
Go ahead, Mr. Bush.
So
Go
dare I
ahead.
remind everybody, during COVID, we all attended meetings electronically.
Correct. All of us, not one of us. All of us.
Right.
Correct.
And so one more clarification is that only one member of council could potentially be absent at a time, which would still allow for the public to be here, present, and speak.
Yeah, but not engaging with that one person. Okay. Mr. Bush?
May I?
No. Mr. Danielson? Nothing? Mr. Sickinger?
I'll hold the majority of my comments for after this motion passes or fails.
Okay. Dr. Wallman, you have some else you want to add?
This amendment and the ability of a council member to attend a meeting by electronic means does not change the ability of the public to come to our meetings and speak to the council, to the whole council, about any item, whether it's an agenda item or another item, depending on what time it is during the meeting. The individual who would be attending electronically would be visible on the screens so that the public can see them and hear them. It would be no different than being present physically and being sitting up here away from the public. What it does do is it allows, under extenuating circumstances, for a council member to continue to serve and fulfill their obligations as a council member. We're not talking about being able to do two things at once. If your job requires that you're out of town the week of a council meeting, your job goes from 9 to 5. At 7 p.m. that night, you're sitting in your hotel room. You can devote your attention to the council meeting if you can participate electronically. In terms of the interruption of the council meetings, if there is a glitch in the electronic connection, that was specifically why I introduced the 1-minute break at the discretion of the presiding officer, so that there wouldn't be an interruption of the meeting if for some reason the connection is lost. If the connection is lost, that council member is no longer able to participate in the meeting from that point on. And I'll stop there.
Is that it? Mr. Sickinger? You said you had nothing? Okay.
Not until after the
All right.
motion.
All right. Okay, I understand what you're saying, Dr. Wallman, but you haven't addressed the simple issue of et cetera, okay? Et cetera opens up wide open to any other excuse that comes up. And that's in your ordinance. You use the term ETC, okay? You're telling me that somebody sitting here tonight can look at the council, you can look at the council, you can look at the citizens that are present and see their reaction, hear their reaction live. That's different than hearing it. You can hide behind the electronic screen at your hotel room while you're having a gin and tonic over here and present at the meeting here. We're not allowed to have that up here on the council in the middle of a meeting. Now, after the meeting, you can have all the gin and tonics you want. But during the meeting, we expect your full attention to the things that are happening in this room. And there's no way you can do that if you're one person is sitting behind an electronic screen. You know, I get it. Now, you sat 6 hours in a District 5 board meeting, live, okay? But you are saying you're willing to not do that for the citizens of Irmo that elected you. And since you're the author of this, I'm using you as the example, okay?
Again,
You know, I'm just saying that that's what you're proposing.
if I
And
may.
then allowing the administrator to be the one that's notified and approve the member, the council member, for being absent from a meeting is just ludicrous. You know, Courtney works for us. We don't work for Courtney. You need to, whoever the member that wants to utilize this thing needs to call the mayor or the presiding officer, let them know that they're not going to be there, and let them make the determination by your own ordinance if that can utilize the technology.
May I address that point?
You can address all those points. We're in the discussion.
The reason for assigning the approval to the town administrator or his or her designee is that they can, at that moment in time, that day, they will know if the electronic, if the facilities here are able to accommodate that request or not. If this were to pass and this were to happen tomorrow for a meeting, the approval would be denied because we currently don't have the ability to handle this situation. Presiding officer at a council meeting may or may not know that the computer back behind the desk is out of order, is not functioning, so that you could not possibly do an electronic attendance. That was why I thought that there needed to be someone at the town level that could approve that, use on a specific case-by-case basis. And also, if the, reason for needing to attend electronically was not sufficiently emergent, then, again, the ability to attend electronically could be denied.
Correct. And again, you're not addressing the et cetera. And if you're telling me that if you call the mayor, me, and say, I'd like to utilize the electronic means, I can do the same thing Courtney's gonna do, is to go down to town hall and say, Courtney, are we able to accommodate that? Is that electronic means available? Like you said, if they wanna do it, if we pass this tonight and you wanna do it tomorrow, then you can call the mayor and I can tell you, no, we can't accommodate that tomorrow because we haven't spent $50,000 to upgrade our system to accommodate it, okay? But that's a chain of command. I think that's a chain of responsibility, is to use it, ask or notify the mayor and get approval for that. And the mayor or the presiding officer, whoever that person might be. And we know who that is. Again, you keep mentioning work obligations. And there's no way in the world that I can justify you opening an iPad on your left-hand side and then have your computer on your right-hand side updating whatever your work obligations are, or opening your iPad after hours, that you claim after hours, and then have a gin and tonic on your right hand while you attend our council meeting because you're in a hotel room or you're unable to do it live. And it's just, again, all you have to do is call in and let us know you're not going to be there. We have 12 meetings a year, and most of our meetings don't last more than an hour and a half. Again, you sat through a 6-hour meeting yesterday, taking notes for the district office live. You couldn't afford us that same courtesy in the town of Irmo to be here live to hear the comments from the citizens. That's all I have about your amendment. Is there any other comments? No,
May I
I'm
speak?
sorry. Yeah, I went to you. Yes, sir, Mr. Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't I'm listening and I'm hearing a lot of things, and I maybe should have written a speech. I had plenty of time to review this. It was bold and read, and I can respond without having a pre-written speech. I will tell you that the entirety of this debate is pretty much unnecessary, since we've lived, as Councilman Bush said, we've lived through COVID. We've had all sorts of rule changes. I personally I am not a fan of any kind of
You're addressing amendments, right? Mr.
virtual meeting.
Mr. Danson, you're
Yeah,
addressing
I'm
the
addressing the
amendment.
amendment.
Okay.
You just let me finish. I know you like to interrupt people tonight, but we're going to
Well, I'm
finish.
trying to make sure we stay on task here, that's all. Okay, go ahead.
We will stay on task. And the amendments, I was not provided an opportunity to discuss this. And so I'm taking that moment to discuss this. The amendments, as far as you can amend a document, is pretty tight. There's not a lot of room for error there in where people can be and what people can do. Nobody on this council is going to start missing meetings due to virtuality. Personally, I'm not a fan of virtuality. Nothing's going to change for me. If this blows up, this doesn't work, then it can be changed by the council at any point in time and go back to it. I'm accused of being, obviously I'm not a younger guy, I'm an older guy, but I'm trying to be flexible on this subject because I know there are people that have these issues. And the amendment directly addresses the issues. Is the et cetera a little broad? Yeah, probably. But again, I don't think this is about the reason for missing. I think it is about the ability that you miss, that you then can at least be in on the meeting, if it's possible for you to do that. I don't see that happening for me, but it could. I missed a meeting last year due to an infection. They wouldn't let me out of the hospital. All right? I mean, things can happen. Could I have been in the meeting? Yes, I felt perfectly fine. But I had an infection and they would not let me out. I could have Zoomed in that particular case. So it does happen. Nobody's looking for it to be an excuse to miss. And frankly, what are the ramifications? You miss 2 here, where's it go after that? We don't have an answer to that. We also don't have a current answer to what happens if you miss 2 or 3 meetings. What are the consequences? So I think you've amended it as tight as we can be, and if we vote on it and we see where it falls at this point, I think we know where everybody stands. And I think, Dr. Waldman, you've done a good job in tightening this up and doing whatever you could do to close as many loopholes as possible. And I appreciate you reading it to me because I really needed you to do that. Thank you.
Any other comments on the amendments? Seeing none, will the clerk read a roll on the amendment?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
No. Okay, now we're back to the amended ordinance 2313 as amended. It's been properly moved and seconded. This is Dr. Waldman and Mrs. Bush. I think you already spoke, Dr. Waldman. Is Mr. Bush, you have any?
I mean, I reiterate most of the comments. I mean, we did this through COVID. We're not talking about the entire council setting out, and, you know, that I know of, barely anybody here has missed a meeting in all the years that, we've been going through this, so I'm in favor.
Mr. Danielson, on the amended ordinance.
No further discussion.
Okay, Mr. Sickinger,
Yeah, thanks,
on
Mr.
the
Mayor.
amended ordinance.
Yes, sir. So first of all, I applaud Dr. Barb for finding a way to wrap this up at 1:30 a.m. Certainly, she's under no obligation to send us any amendments in advance of the meeting, and I appreciate the fact that she was willing to stay up and do that despite likely being tired after watching a marathon board session, it probably sounds like. I wanted to address some of the concerns that the public brought as well, and certainly not to call them out, but just to see if I can assuage those concerns a little bit. As Dr. Barb said, the citizens certainly, this has not changed the ability of a resident or a citizen to speak before any vote, and they will be speaking to the entirety of council, including those who are remote, because they will be displayed on the screen up there. And I agree with the concern about workshop and kind of the transparency around that, although not particularly germane to this item, but I'm in favor of having a little bit more transparency or streaming around the workshop side of things. So back to the changed amended item here. Well, I took a lot of notes as the conversation was happening, and I figured I would just save it until it was either worth it to bring it up or not if that motion failed. So first of all, I think that a lot of the objections that have been raised from the dais here are really like a false premise. There are a lot of what ifs that aren't really rooted in the reality of both this council in particular and in reality that reflects the commitment that council members make when they run. And I'll give you an example. So first, as a false premise is cost to upgrade being $50,000. I have no idea where that number came from. I'd be curious to understand if you received a quote, where you sourced that quote from, and how many vendors you talked to who were offering to charge us $50,000 to enable a council member to be remote. Second, I take issue with continuing to call things hiding behind an iPad. If a council member is not present, they are not hiding behind anything. In fact, they're taking extra measures to be present and not hide. And considering that all votes are at least 2 votes anyway, well, most votes are at least 2 votes, and certainly those of particular circumstance, that they would have an opportunity to not hide behind the iPad in the prior meeting or the next. Also, you raised, Mr. Mayor, that, and then you said in the last one as well, that if you can't make a meeting, call out, it's not a big deal. Then on the other side of that same exact statement, the argument has been made that you have to be here, that you have 12 meetings a year and you have to be here. Well, those two statements do not agree with each other. Either you can't make a meeting and therefore it's okay if you call out, or you must be present at every council meeting. The balance on that is what is proposed here is that if you can't make a meeting because you're stuck at LAX or because of a family emergency or a death in the family, rather than calling out, you're reflecting your commitment that you made when you ran by setting aside that time to still attend the council meeting regardless of the things that are in the way. Now, I don't know how others travel for work, but suggesting that a council member would be drinking alcohol during a council meeting, I think is, I don't know where that particular item comes from. I'll wrap with a couple of other things. So the suggestion, again, false premise kind of stuff, that you're at a funeral and holding up an iPad to be in a council meeting. Obviously, if the literal funeral overlapped with a council meeting, yes, it would be both ridiculous and inane for a council member to be in a funeral for a family member and attending a council meeting. However, at least 2 of our council members on this council have gone through extreme measures to be here near, on, or around the death of a close family member. And to extend a courtesy to that council member to say, I care enough about the commitment that I made to the town to still attend. I might be a little upset, but I would be upset if I was in here in person anyway. But I can stay here with family, take a 2-hour timeout, go to the council meeting, and then return without having to fly, without having to drive for 8 to 12 hours. Everyone on this council has gone through extreme measures to make sure that they are here for every council meeting. And so this, to suggest that council members would do more than any of the crazy things that have been suggested as potential, I think are a little bit out of line and are kind of offensive to me personally. I'll wrap up with meetings are staying the way they are. What this really does is give one council member on very rare occasion the opportunity to still vote and be present in a meeting when circumstances warrant that a reasonable person cannot make that meeting.
Okay. Anybody? Dr. Wallman? Mr. Bush? Mr. Danielson? Mr. Sickinger, it is not, if it's offensive to you, it's offensive to the citizens of the town of Irmo that you would suggest that when you're sitting at your hotel room in LAX or you're sitting at your job, that you're going to have your iPad open, and the reason why you're missing the meeting because you have a work obligation, that you won't be on your iPad on your left-hand side and your job requirements on your computer on your right-hand side. You work with computers more than anybody else up here. And you know that people have those computers where you got 2 big screens in front of you, looking at one screen, moving stuff over, and then you're concentrating on your iPad over here in the middle of a meeting. That's not unreasonable or offensive. If that's offensive to you, that's the reality. The citizens elected us to be representative here, and you're doing a disservice to the citizens that asked you to be here. And I quite frankly, you know, when you talk about work obligations, you knew at the beginning of the year what those 12 meetings are, the dates of those 12 meetings. You knew that, and if you have a work obligation, you can certainly know that I have a meeting coming up on this. And I'm not talking about the workshops, I'm talking about the meetings. You have a meeting coming up on the third Tuesday of the month. And you have that mapped out for the entire year, you know, and it's only 12. Now, again, we're not saying that you can't miss a meeting, or if you feel an obligation is so present or presenting to you that you can't attend, that you can't just let us know. If we're going to vote on an item, we can certainly postpone that vote until the next meeting. We can give you that courtesy. That's what we do as a council. We respect each other. But yes, hiding behind the electronic means because you're virtually at a funeral or in the ER with a medical emergency, or you're at a funeral because you had death in the family. And absolutely, if you have work obligations, you knew what you were getting at the beginning of the year. You knew what you were getting at ran for council. Your work obligations are such that, yes, those things come up, and I get it, but you can tell us what's happening, okay? Are there any more comments?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah, yeah.
seeing no,
Oh, yeah, yes.
there is more comments,
Oh, yeah.
okay, I'm
I
sorry.
just took
Go
me-
ahead,
I had to
Mr.
get- you
Mrs. Sickinger, go ahead.
Just kept going. I just couldn't get my hand to the microphone quick enough. So there's, and to be clear, and I know that you know this, Mr. Mayor, but any responses aren't any result of any personal animus, but just the debate and the points themselves, right? So, no, I completely agree that barring exceptional circumstances, a member of the council has every responsibility to be here. That's why when I had a work obligation in DC, that where they said they would not allow me to avoid that work obligation, that I flew back on my own dime so I could attend a workshop. So I completely understand and respect the requirement that we have and understood when we ran. At the same time, you know, you kind of came back to the same point, which is If you have a work obligation or exceptional circumstance and you can't be at the meeting, then let us know and you can be excused. Now, what I'm saying is there's no need, so if that's okay, then it should be even better to be able to say, not only is it okay, we understand you have a work obligation or a family emergency or a death in the family, not only is it okay that you miss the meeting, as an option, you may also attend and vote remotely. That's it. And if a member of the public does not trust someone to do their job from remotely for one meeting a year in an exceptional circumstance, then they wouldn't vote for them in the first place, in my opinion.
I agree. Any more comments? Seeing none, and by the way, I didn't say you must attend. I said you can call us. You don't have to get permission to call in and attend. Just notify us that you're not going to be here, and we go there.
Understood.
Clerk, okay, no more comments. Will the clerk read a roll on the amended ordinance 2317?
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mr. Danielson? Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
No. And we'll keep that in mind when we run again. Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. That was out of line.
What was that on?
That was out of line.
Keep that in mind when we decide to
No, that
run
was out of
again.
line. There's no room for editorial comments during a council
We
meeting
just made a vote.
unless we have an open discussion.
Okay, second and.
How are
I'm
you
sorry.
ruling on my point of order?
Okay, I agree. Okay, it's new business. First reading of ordinance 2318 to adopt a comprehensive plan, and this is a 5-year comprehensive plan that we've already, I don't think we've actually, we have to actually look at the detail of that. We're going to adopt it, right? Okay. It was sent to us in our package 48 hours in advance. We had an opportunity to look it over individually. Is there a motion for first reading of 2318?
I so move.
Wait a minute, one at a time, please. Who's making a motion to adopt 2318?
I'll move.
Mr.
I'll second.
Sickinger. Sickinger and Mr. Bush. Okay, Mr. Sickinger.
Yeah, I did get a chance to read through it, and, reading comprehension being what it is, it's a large document. I would be interested in staff, do we have from my reading of it, it was primarily updates of facts and figures, almost holistically with maybe a couple of additional paragraph or two here and there. Is that a fair summary on that?
I'll let Doug.
I think the big question, Doug, if you answer nothing else, is that there were no substantive changes made to the comprehensive plan. Is that correct?
That is correct. I left the goals, objectives, and strategies almost entirely intact. I did remove the sections involving the new downtown concept. Other than that, every goal, strategy, and objective from 5 or 6 years ago is intact. Everything else is an update to data where new data was available. Oh, yes, and also we added the new 10th element, the resiliency element.
Bush.
I just want to confirm, I mean, this is to get us up to date and that we are going to proceed with kind of more in-depth of this plan.
Last week for the new comprehensive plan, and that is, the RFP is due in about 3 weeks at this point.
That's for the 10-year plan, right?
That is correct.
Okay, but this is a 5-year update.
Correct.
But to be clear, the 5-year update would be part of the 10-year. We got 2 separate plans. One's a 5-year rolling and the other one's a 10.
So basically, by state law, every 10 years, you have to create a brand-new plan from scratch. At the 5-year interval, you update the original plan with new data. And so what we have done in this ordinance is to pass that 5-year amendment with the new data. But because of the growth in the town, the direction that staff has received is to begin immediately on a 10-year plan rather than wait 4 or 5 more years to do that. So we're just getting ahead of the game.
Thanks. I yield my time.
Dr. Wallman.
Yes, I've read through this document, and I agree that it's primarily an update of some of the data within that document, and I agree with it.
Say that again? You said you agreed to what?
Well, I mean, I agree with the way it's been updated.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's, as Mr. Poland said, it's basically updating data that we have, town data. But it doesn't change the direction, or it's, just updating it so that we meet our obligation for revising our 5-year plan.
Okay. Mr. Danielson.
Yes, don't want to be repetitive, but I want to make sure we're clear, and the folks listening out there are clear or watching. We're a year behind approving the update to our 5-year, at our 5-year mark of our current 10-year plan, which was 2017, should have been done in 2022. We're a little bit behind the 8 ball there, and we're fixing that with this ordinance. To move forward, we will have a new 10-year plan, which we will have the RFPs back within 3 weeks. We will then hire that firm, and we will move forward with a new 10-year plan. And the window to do that 10-year plan would be 9 months, year, maybe, push or take. So then it would be our next 10-year benchmark would be 2034, if my math is right. Might not be right, but I think my math is right. And our 5-year update would be 2029. Am I good on that? Close enough?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, that's where we are. I just want to make sure we've got that. And because of the growth of this town, it's critical. This is where we do the heavy lifting, and this is where we have to get into this. And this ordinance now is only updating demographics and a couple of other key items that we're going to look for, which are in our RFP that's out. Am I correct?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sickinger. Okay, you don't want to say?
I think I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. And again, thank you, Mr. Danielson, for straightening that out. That's exactly, this is the 5-year mark, and we're updating that a year late, but we're updating it. Will the clerk read a roll? Or is there any more comments? I'm sorry.
I did have one more, just so you know, I read the thing. So our population's basically been flat since 1990. I'm trying to get my head around that.
I'm sorry, say it again, please.
The population has been flat, according to this, since 1990 in the town of Irmo.
No, it's gone up. I mean, not much, but it's gone up.
Couple babies here and there, that's pretty much
Right.
it. It didn't really go up that much. Anyway, it's just shocking.
What's the population, about 11,000 something?
So it was 11,758, in 1990 it was 11,280,
Well, we need to be producing a little more, I guess,
something.
I believe we've added a number of homes, but the number of people per home has gone down.
That's,
Which is
yeah, it's kind of
Oh, okay,
a bit of a wash.
interesting, yeah.
got it. All right. Any more comments? The clerk read a roll, please.
Mr. Bush,
Yes.
Mr. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes,
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
No. First reading of ordinance 2319. This is to, let's put my glasses on, I can see what it is. Update the business license rate schedule class as recommended by the Municipal Association. Is there a motion for first reading?
so moved.
Second.
Second.
I'm in favor of following state law. So I'm in favor of the changes. I didn't see any other significant amendments or changes, so I'm fine.
Okay. Mr. Bush,
I mirror my colleagues' comments and yield my time.
Dr. Waldman,
Nothing to add.
Mr. Danielson.
No, I believe this is what we have to do and what we should do, so I yield my comments.
Okay. Clerk, read the roll.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Approval to ratify Resolution 2304. This amendments totaling $606,177. This is all the budget amendments we made during the year to fix stuff along the way. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Sickinger,
I'll second.
Mr. Bush.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Bush.
Danielson. Okay. Mr. Sickinger.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Just really reconciling, right? The changes that we made along the way. And so I'm in favor.
Mr. Danielson, sorry.
Yes, same comment.
Okay, Mr. Bush.
I would be in favor of just putting this chart up there on the screen real quick, so everybody can see it.
Anna, could you put that chart of
Full transparency.
2304? That's the amount, 606,176. Those are the things that we bought out of during the year that was not in the original budget. Dr. Wallman.
I have no comments.
Will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Item D, appointment to the Central Midlands Council of Government, the COG. We have to appoint, I'd like to be appointed to attend the COG and represent the town of Irmo. Is there anybody else who would like to be appointed to do that?
I'd like to nominate Bill Danielson.
Well, it's not a nominee, we're gonna appoint that person. Okay, so Bill Danielson's put his name in it. Are you willing to do that, Bill? And I'm willing to do that. Is there anybody else that's willing to do that? You willing to do it? Okay, so Bill Danielson, myself, and Eric Sickinger. Well,
Can I make an offer on this? I don't know, do we need to have a literal appointment based on the CMCOG rules? Or can we just,
we have to have somebody at the meeting to
Yes.
represent the town of Irmo. Who it is, we usually have one person or two people or whatever. You know, in your case, we're gonna have three people that can go to the COG meeting, which meets once a month or something like
Yeah.
that. All we're
Third.
saying is we want one person to be the appointee. Now, of course, if Bill can't make it, then I'll be a second person that can go. If I can't make it and Bill can't make it, then you'll be a third person. Okay?
Ironically, you can attend those electronically. Just saying.
Okay. But you can't vote on things electronically at that COG meeting, so, okay. All right? That's fine. I mean, we need somebody at the COG meeting to represent the town of Irmo and to be advocating for us. Okay? All right? Any other nominees for appointment? Seeing none, all those in favor of what I propose, say aye, or will the clerk read the roll on my proposal, I guess?
And your proposal was to get?
Bill, me, and Eric.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mr. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes.
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
Yes. Presentation by citizens. Thank y'all for, it's only 8:30. Wasn't too bad. Presentation by citizens, all those citizens that are sat through this and want to make comments to the council on what you've heard tonight and what you want us to know in the future. Please come to the podium and let us know. Name and
Harvey Hoots, the only one in captivity. I understand the dialogue and I think the concerns for doing the electronic meetings. I just cannot wrap my head around what the urgency is. I mean, when we built this building, we talked about it for a long time. We did not pick out the chairs and the carpet before the foundation was down, and before the roof was on, and before it was dried in. And we had spent more money than we thought we were going to spend. And then we realized that we had to take a little cut in the furniture. And we went to a church supply company to buy these seats. So what's the urgency to get all of the ordinance doctored up and yet you don't have the ability to do it? If you wanted to have that meeting tomorrow, I can't see you. You can't see me. Just think about it.
other persons want to address council. Thank you very much. Come on up, ma'am. Yeah, Courtney, can you have her?
Good afternoon. How y'all doing?
Talking to the microphone, ma'am. I can't.
Okay. My name is Rose Davis. I live at 1008 Friarsgate Boulevard. I've lived in Irmo 38 years, and I've lived at Friarsgate Boulevard 35. I'm a retired mail carrier. I've delivered mail here in Irmo for 34 years, okay? And I wanted to, first of all, he said we could say something about what we heard in here today. I kind of understood what the mayor was saying as reference to the Zoom situation or whatever y'all were trying to do. Because I could see where he's saying, why put that money in there for something we may not even use but once a year, if at all. That's my only thing to say about that. Okay, but what I did want to talk about is Friarsgate. I have a passion for Irmo and Friarsgate. When I moved on Friarsgate Boulevard, it was gravel. There wasn't all these houses there. But the Friarsgate, when you come in off of Broad River Road, the sign isn't always visible because the lights are messed up. It's been there since before I moved here. That same sign has been there, you know, you can't see it. So when you tell somebody to get off the highway, you're gonna see how to get to Friarsgate. They can't see it because half the time the lights aren't working. And it's just not a real attractive thing for a community that is like third or fourth largest. We got over 3,000 houses in Friarsgate, between Friarsgate old and new. So I would like to ask about that being addressed, that maybe the sign could be painted, updated, stained, lights showing, something that says you're coming to Friarsgate, because I feel like it's that kind of community. Also, the church recently, and this I've never seen before, put a dumpster on the corner of their street, the entrance that could go into Friarsgate. There is a large orange dumpster sitting there. I mean, like a commercial dumpster, not like our trash cans or nothing, that's sitting there.
You said the church?
Yeah, the church. I'm assuming it's the church's. I don't know whose it is. It's in their driveway, though. But it's actually on Friarsgate Boulevard.
Coming off of Broad River?
No. If you get on Royal Tower, get to that light, you make a right onto Friarsgate Boulevard. Right there in that driveway is a dumpster. following me?
Yeah, I'm trying to envision it, because I went down there, you saw Universal Outreach Church.
Yes.
Okay, I got you. I'm with you now. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, they
Okay.
have a very unsightly dumpster sitting there. I've had to call the code enforcement this past 6 months, I could say no less than 7, 8 times, because Irmo, a lot of the older residents and people who've been there with me a long time move out, and then the state gets these programs to get the houses to people, but they're not teaching them. For example, the zoning guy will come out when he can. Now, whereas in the past, there was 3 or 4 of them, it's only the one guy trying to do the zone, from what he tells me. But he does come out, and, but having to just keep calling him over and over again for things that if a citizen, I believe, knew it, they would do it. For example, he comes out and he says, okay, you can't have all these mattresses on the street, but do you tell them how? Nobody's telling them that. I mean, if you've been in Irma all this time, you know you call. You call and you get somebody, you call the sanitation, you call somebody, schedule it. It has to be scheduled, because they're not gonna pick it up. So it sits out there for months. Trash, mattresses, and you and I spoke on it. Mattresses, dressers, furniture, refrigerators, just you name it. It's just out on the streets. And I think that if they have to come and ask somebody to move them, that they should have something, some way of saying, this is how we should do it. Because maybe if they know it, because, okay, you get them to move it this week, and then next week they put it back out again, put something else out, because maybe they don't understand how it works. So those were some of my issues. I'm real concerned about Friarsgate Boulevard. I've been asked by my kids, do I want another house? No. This is where God allowed me to live, and this is where I want to be. And since I am going to be there, up until recently, I felt like, well, maybe I am. Maybe I do need to be moving on somewhere else in Irmo, but I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to feel that way. I want to be able to. So I don't know. I talked to the zoning guy. Also, we had a rule that came out some years ago that said you couldn't park your cars across your lawn. Well, now, seemingly, people have turned their lawn into a driveway, like literally put this gravel stuff that washes away, and then you put 20 cars. It's almost like somebody coming down the street to a car lot. You know, so those are some of the issues that I'm concerned about, and I appreciate you letting me know about the meetings so I could come and address it, okay?
No problem. Thank you, Ms. Rose.
Thank you.
Ms. Davis. Appreciate it. Any other citizens who make comments to the town that want us to know? No other comments? Okay, we'll move on. We have a discussion item. A citizen emailed me and posted on Facebook. She lives in Friarsgate. She wanted to rent some goats to clean out her backyard. Apparently, there's a lot of brush in her backyard that she wants to get, gone. She could hire a lawn service to cut it, but she thought it would be more universally advantageous for a goat to come in and eat it up. And so she actually asked the question, is there an ordinance that would prevent her from doing that? Well, I immediately called her and said, yes, you cannot have farm animals within the town limits of Irmo unless you live in a zoned area which is fringe agricultural. So she asked the question, well, what if I only had them there temporarily, like to rent a goat? Apparently there's a service that rents goats, that brings goats out to let people do exactly what she wants to get done, to eat the overgrown vegetation. And they'll leave them out there for a day, and they'll come and pick them all up. And then she gets what she wants done, the goats get fed, they get happy, and they leave a little fertilization on the way back. So with that being said, is there any desire for this council to look at amending our ordinance on specifically goats, not farm animals, to allow her to look at that in a future council meeting, to amend the ordinance, to allow them to use that rent-a-goat service to bring out and let them cut the grass or use the goats to clean out vegetation. And we could also use it to clean out some of these retention ponds that we had around town that doesn't get weed whacked on a regular basis. So that's the discussion item. Mr. Signature, you seem ready to comment?
I mean, I'm all for it and a concept. I think just like a proposal to allow residents to have hens in their backyard, or a single pig, what have you. I'm in favor, but it would need to be, I think, the devil's in the details around, how do we protect, right? It's the same balance as always. How do we protect someone from saying they're renting, but they've been living there for a week and a half, or 2 weeks, or a month, or 6 months? Not that in generally that would even be that big of an issue, right? But how do you control it? But also, how do you avoid being so controlling and restrictive that nobody can actually use them, right? So it's the same kind of thing. If you want to find a suburb municipality in the southeast that has a model ordinance that we can look at and see, kind of weigh those costs and balances, but I'm not against it as a concept, for sure.
Okay, Mr. Danielson?
No.
Okay. Mr. Bush?
So we have to limit this to goats, like,
That's what yeah. Just the
I
goats.
think this would be a good workshop discussion. And did anybody run it by the town attorney to see if renting a goat is different than owning a goat? Because I would split hairs on that one with you. You're not keeping it, you're renting it. So I think if they had a good attorney, they could probably have a goat right now.
Dr. Wallman?
I think this would be worth discussion at a workshop. There's a lot of questions. How long would the goats need to be there to be effective? Are we talking about, 1 day or 2 days or a week or a month? I mean, how long, do you rent these goats for? And
I have to call a rent-a-goat company to find out how long it takes. I mean, there
But
literally is a
again-
company that does this, so.
Again, that's why I think it's worth maybe some discussion with some of the details that we can then decide based on that.
Okay, so we got to know, think about it, you're worth discuss a workshop. Okay, so will you put that on the next workshop agenda, please, Mr. Dennis? We'll investigate some languages that we have around Southeast or in South Carolina. And we'll actually get the company that rents them and ask them how long do the goats have to be there to do what they need to do, and what the impact will be to the environment.
It wouldn't hurt to get a legal opinion on whether they can have them right now based on the
Well, we
ordinance.
can do it at the workshop. I mean,
That's your homework.
all right, any more, Mr. Danielson?
Yeah, wouldn't it depend on if the goats were hungry?
I suspect they will be.
Are we going to ask the goats to go out there if they're hungry, or are they just going to stand around and flatulence and crap in the yard? Because
Again, I will call the rent-a-goat company and find out.
that could be
if
an
they
environmental
starve.
issue.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion on the rent-a-goat proposal? It'll be on the next workshop agenda. We'll have some more detailed information and we can parse it out from there. We do not have an executive session. Is there a motion for adjournment?
There is, I so move.
Huh?
It's so move.
Okay.
I'll second.
Mr. Bush made a motion for adjournment. Mr. Sickinger seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Bang.